the storyteller which we are going to learn today, that is also one of the masterpieces written by Saki. Aunt is actually pissed off. She doesn't want to answer any more questions because she wanted to be at peace. Continuously she is going on answering, would the people have saved her even if she was not so good? That was the question he asks him. So what aunt used to do is, she had built lot of moral values in children by telling very good stories. Hello everyone, I am Dr. Shalini, Professor of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Today we are here to discuss about one of the prose parts prescribed by University of Mysore for the first SEM B.B.A. So the part we are going to discuss is about the storyteller. Okay, this is a short story written by Saki. Saki is the pen name. His actual name is H.H. Munro. The name of the author is H.H. Munro. So let us just peep into what we are going to learn in this session. Let us just peep in to know what we are going to learn in today's module. So we are going to learn about the author and also the summary of the whole text. Okay, so let us begin our session now. So the first thing we are going to understand is about the author. So we all by now we just know the name of the author, that is Saki. Okay, Saki was the pen name and his actual name was Hector Hugh Munro. Okay, so his pen name was Saki. Okay, so he was born in British Burma. British Burma is nothing but a part of Burma that was occupied. Burma is the name of a country. So Burma that was occupied by the Britishers. He was born during that time. He was born in that part. Okay, so he was actually a British writer. Okay, so he had come to Burma, like he was born in that place wherein Britishers had occupied Burma, but he was a British writer by origin. So his works actually satirize this Edwardian society. What is meant by a satire? First we need to know that. Okay, satire is actually more or less equal to the word sarcasm. So nowadays you use sarcasm, right? So it is more or less equal to that, but it is not the same. Satire is used to create awareness in people. Okay, so this is an art of making fun of the society, which is used by the authors, poets and all. And they make fun of the society. They make fun of the practices that are there in the society in order to create awareness in them. Okay, so he was an author who used to write that way. He used to write satires about the Edwardian society. Edwardian society means the society wherein there were a lot of rich people. They didn't even care about the poor. So it was like more or less equal to that, similar to that Victorian society. Okay, so this was the scenario. He used to write satires about the Edwardian society. He has written a lot of famous works. So these are few of them. These are few famous works that are written by H.H. Munro or Saki. Okay, so the interlopers, Gabriel, Ernest, the Toys of Peace and the storyteller. So the storyteller which we are going to learn today, that is also one of the masterpieces written by Saki. So there are very few characters in this story. I will not go through the whole text, but I'll just give you the summary of it. So the setting of the story is in a train. So the whole story takes place in a train, railway carriage. So you can say it takes place in one of the compartments of the train. So this train is traveling to Temple Combi. Okay, so that is a place. So here the author tries to satirize the practices that are there in the society. As his practice is, he uses the same thing in this story also. Okay, so there are very few characters in this story. It is very easy for you to remember. It is easy for you to understand. So it's a very short, crisp kind of a story. Very easy to understand, directly touches the heart of the reader. Okay, the phrase directly touches the heart of the reader. By this phrase, I don't mean that it is emotional. Okay, it is actually, it makes fun of the society, like how people used to make choices, and also all these are very intricately blended into the story. Okay, so let us start with this story now. Okay, so the story starts the setting is given and the scenario is just explained to you. So it is a hot summer day. Okay, so hot summer day. Summer occupies a very important position in British writings. Okay, so that is because the most of the time it is cold there, so they want summer, they enjoy summer. Okay, so that is what they are that is mentioned here. Okay, so it was a hot summer day, and the setting means the place where the incident takes place or the event takes place. Okay, so here 3 small children are there. They are traveling with their aunt in a railway carriage. So there are 3 small children, okay, 1 boy, 2 girls. So there are 3 children there and they are traveling with their aunt. So in the story, it is named as aunt. No name is given for that. The name of the aunt is not mentioned, but the names of children are mentioned there. Okay, but name of the aunt is not mentioned. So let's mention that as let us go about with the name of aunt only. So aunt is there. There are 3 children, 1 boy and 2 girls. It happens in a railway carriage, as I said. Okay, so the whole incident takes place in a railway carriage, means a compartment of the train. So here when the author is writing the story, he refers to the compartment of the train as a car. Okay, so this railway carriage he refers to as car of the train, he says. So you have to understand that as a compartment. Okay, so let us go further. Children, you know how are children? Okay, so the children, they kept on asking questions to the aunt. You know small children, right? They are very inquisitive. Inquisitive means very curious. Okay, since children were very curious to know what is happening around them, they are going on asking questions. Okay, so they are very curious to know what is going on inside the carriage, what is going on outside. So their mind is continuously working. Something or the other is going on in their minds. So they were going on asking questions to aunt also. Aunt is actually pissed off. She doesn't want to answer any more questions because she wanted to be at peace. Continuously she is going on answering. She just wanted them to stay quiet. She is trying too hard to keep them quiet, but that is not happening at all because they are going on asking questions. Aunt tries to keep them quiet by telling them a story. She comes across various questions before she could start telling a story. There are various questions that are asked. Like there was a girl among the children only, there was a girl who was going on singing only one line of the poem. It was like somebody has given a bet to her. She has taken a bet with somebody and she is going to win the bet. So the same line she is going on repeating. She is not continuing the poem also. Okay, it was like she's not going to stop at all, never ending. So that was one side. And on the other side, one of the boys, that is his name is Cyril. So he goes on banging he just hits the seat of this one railway carriage there. The dust just flies. So that is also irritating there. Okay, so aunt is too much irritated there. So what she says, just come and sit near the window, she says. So he comes, sits near the window very reluctantly. The word reluctantly means, it is an adverb. It actually means without willing, like he was not willing to come there. Okay, so he was not, he didn't want to come there, but still, since aunt calls, he comes there and sits. So reluctantly meaning without his wish. Okay, so he comes there, he sees outside the window, then he asks questions about few sheep there. Okay, so few sheep there were lot of sheep, bulls, cows and all outside the window, like as they were passing on the fields. Okay, so about that also they start asking questions. So aunt could not control, she calls them for a story. Okay, so aunt might have already told them many stories which was uninteresting for them. They were all disinterested in the story there, which the aunt was telling all these days. So here also they thought the same kind of story might be coming up. Okay, so they came. She starts an unconventional story. Unconventional means a kind of not so interesting story. Okay, they were not at all interested in that story. As I said, simply she starts telling a story. So just to capture the interest of the children, she just wanted them to be quiet. So she just wants some story, she starts telling. Okay, without any preparation, she just starts telling the story. Then what happens? There was an unknown man also. So unknown man in the story. So he is named as a bachelor. So there is no name given to that, but the only name that is given by the author is the bachelor. So there was a bachelor also in the carriage. So he was just watching the lady telling the story. So the aunt starts telling a story. She talks about some girl like once upon a time, like that only she tells. Then what happens when all of a sudden aunt experiences, like aunt had to face a question. So then even the bachelor, the question which the child had got, the same question even the bachelor had got in his mind. So as soon as the child asked the question, aunt was like she did not have any proper answer over there. So she just answers him some, she gives him some lame answer. Okay. So all of a sudden what this bachelor does is, he just tells her, you are a very bad storyteller. You don't know how to tell a story. So he just talks just like that. Okay. All of a sudden he gives that comment. So aunt was very surprised. She was shocked. She didn't expect that comment. She was taken aback. What she does, she didn't want to give up in front of that bachelor. Okay. She just gave him a challenge. What does she give? She tells the bachelor, like since the bachelor points out the flaws in the story, what she does is she asks him to tell a story. Okay. So she tries to tell him it is very difficult for anybody to tell a story to a child or to children. So why don't you try telling a story? That's what she says. So now the ball is in his court. Okay. So all these children, they were first of all disinterested with this aunt's story. Now they expected something different from this bachelor. They all just turned towards the bachelor asking him to tell a story. Okay. So they just ask him, no, you tell a story, you tell a story. So they just start pestering him to tell a story. So aunt is very happy. She is like, she has won the battle or something like that. So she just puts the ball in bachelor's court and she just keeps watching. So she was like, what will this bachelor do? What will this person do? How will he tell a story? Okay. She was just waiting for a chance to offend that bachelor because he has offended her by pointing out few flaws in the story. Okay. So let us see what happens next. So he starts telling a story. He also begins the same way. Once upon a time. So this way only he begins a story. Okay. So the conventional way only, the previous story, how it was, like that only it starts. Okay. Children were actually disinterested. They did not want to listen to the story, but somehow they start listening. Okay. So what happens? Starts telling a story about a girl named Bertha. Okay. So Bertha was a very good girl. So you know what happened? He starts explaining about this girl, Bertha. Okay. She was good. She had won 3 gold medals based on 3 categories. One is to be neat and tidy all the time, to say the truth always, to say the truth and be disciplined. Okay. So then to complete the work always on time. So there were 3 categories in which she has won 3 gold medals. Okay. She used to wear the gold medals always and used to roam around. So he uses the word horribly good for Bertha. So he uses this word horribly good. Okay. So why does he use this word horribly good? Usually you don't consider this horrible with good. Okay. You don't use it. Right? Horrible, like the taste was horrible, you say. You use it when you want to talk something negative about it. But here, the author, the storyteller, the bachelor uses this word horribly good. So they were attracted. So they were like a kind of spark of interest gets kindled in the children's mind. So here, she had won through 3 gold medals for being good, he says. So that time, Cyril says, yes, she was horribly good. So he repeats the same word over here. Okay. So that time the bachelor knows, yes, the story has struck the mind of the children. So now he has used this word horribly good again. So he is talking about her goodness. There comes an incident where children ask questions to the bachelor also. So there is an incident about this Bertha. So Bertha was being attacked by a bull one day. So what happened? Since she was good, she was running and the bull was running behind her, was being chased. Okay, she was being chased by a bull. So that time people ran fast and somehow saved her. Okay, so this was the incident. He just wanted to show how good she was. Okay. So that time, one of the children, he asked a question, that is the boy who was there, he asked a question, would the people have saved her even if she was not so good? That was the question he asks him. Now, the aunt was very happy. Somehow the question has come. But this one bachelor said that depends on the goodness. Okay, since she was good only, they saved her. But if she was not good, they wouldn't have ran so fast, he says. Okay, he doesn't say that they wouldn't have saved her, but he says they wouldn't have ran so fast. That means you should understand that had they not ran fast, she would have been killed. So they wouldn't have saved her. Okay, so this way he answers the questions very in a tricky way. So then what happens? So here in between, you just need to understand. So there was a prince in the, like she was very good, right? So some award, even the prince comes to know about her goodness. So he wanted to give her an award. Okay. So he decides he has to call her to the garden which he has for as a reward for her goodness. He will allow her to take a stroll in the park weekly once. Okay. So that is what he decided. So what happens here is the storyteller, that is the bachelor, he actually talks about the park. Okay, so he just lets the children imagine how the park is. Okay, so what he tells, there was no clock and there was no flowers, there were a lot of pigs, so everything he says. So very trickily he answered one question here in a very intelligent way. So let me just tell you. So he did not have clocks and he did not have flowers also, he says there. Okay, so what happens is one of the children, they ask a question somewhere there. So aunt was very happy again. So again a question has come up. Okay, so then the children ask about the death of the prince. There was a curse here in the to the prince. So the prince did not have any clock in his palace. That is what he says. So Cyril asks. Okay, so Cyril or one of the children. Okay, so they ask the bachelor, how did the prince die? So this one, the bachelor, without even delaying a moment, he just tells them, the prince has not died. So we do not know whether the curse has come true or not. Okay, so in this way, the bachelor goes on answering all the questions very cleverly. Aunt was really surprised to see the way he has created interest. Okay, so even she was fascinated by the way in which the story is being told. Okay. So then what happens? He also tells about that there was no flowers in the garden. So Bertha had promised her aunt, like the girl who, when she came to have a stroll in the park, she had told her aunt that she is not going to pluck any flowers. But here she says there are no flowers at all. So now the children ask why there are no flowers. So the bachelor says the prince was given a choice whether to have pigs in the garden or flowers. Okay. Anybody for that matter wouldn't have chosen pigs. They would have chosen flowers only. Even you for that matter. If you are given a choice, like in your garden, would you have a pig or would you have flowers? You'll have flowers only, right? But this prince was somewhat weird. He was different. He was unique. He had few pigs in the garden. Okay. So to eat those pigs, there was a wolf that used to come. So next, what happened? So she was very good. She was called to the prince's garden to have a stroll as an award for her goodness. Okay. So she was allowed to take a walk now. Then when she was strolling, there was a wolf that came up. Okay. So there was a wolf that came into the garden. Now she asks, here there is an important question we must note down, which was asked by the children. The children asked what colors were the sheep there. Okay, so he tells all colors. Okay, white with black spots, black with white spots. So all combinations he gives, and he just lets them imagine for some time so that they are quiet for some time. So his objective is being met, isn't it? The main objective, the main reason why he is telling a story was to keep the children quiet. So now that is happening. So then what happens? Bertha had worn a clean white dress. So that dress was visible from far away also. So Wolf saw that and Wolf came to attack. Okay, so Wolf came and she just runs as fast as she can and hides behind the bush. So the bushes and all, they were so thick that the wolf started sniffing. But here when she hid behind the bush, it was not able to sniff also. Sniffing, when dogs walk somewhere, no, they just continuously smell and they walk, right? So that is called as sniffing. Okay, so wolf also comes sniffing for Bertha, but she hides behind the bush. Somehow the wolf was not able to reach Bertha, so it was about to go back. Okay, but what happens? Due to fear, she was just trembling. Okay, so she was shivering. So by that time, the three medals which she was wearing, they were clinking, they were touching each other, and they were making that clinking sound. So you know, metals touch each other and you get a clinking sound, right? So that type of sound was being made by this Bertha's medals also. So at that time, Wolf could guess where Bertha was. It just jumped into the bush, and the wolf eats away Bertha completely. It just gobbles Bertha inside. Okay, so finally Bertha is no more. Whatever was left was the three medals, the shoes, everything. Okay, so only those were left. Bertha is no more. Okay, she just thought, when she was hiding behind the bush, she was thinking, I shouldn't have been so good, then I wouldn't have come here. So she was just thinking about her goodness. Okay, the wrong part of her being good. Why has she been so good? So that is what had come to her mind. So all this happens, then the wolf eats Bertha up. So then what happens? The children actually loved the story. The children say, this is the most interesting story that I have heard. This is the most beautiful story I have ever heard in my life. That was the phrase told by the children. But when they heard the story of the aunt, they had told, this is the stupidest story I have ever heard. Okay, so what aunt used to do is, she had built lot of moral values in children by telling very good stories. But what did this bachelor do? He did the opposite. Okay, so the story he told was, it was kind of unconventional. Okay, so actually speaking, this is actually a meaningless story. Okay, meaningless in the sense, you cannot say somebody not to be good, isn't it? In any story, in any moral story you speak, you tell to children, it will be like, yes, you have to be good, you have to do good, like that only the stories will be made. But here she feels it is an improper story. Aunt tells him, what kind of story have you told? When he is getting down from the train, she asks him, what kind of story have you told? Why have you undone the values that I have built in children? Don't you feel that children will start feeling that we should not be so good? Isn't it? So this is what is going on. Now the aunt goes on asking him. Okay, she questions him twice or thrice. Then he tells, the objective was to keep the children quiet. Okay, so he was successful in keeping the children quiet for 10 minutes. So that is what he has done. I don't know what it is. Whatever you say, that doesn't, I don't mind that. Okay, whatever was to be done, that is done. Now your intention is, your aim is fulfilled. Okay, so now you just get on the train and go, he says. So now he was also thinking, all this while they have heard my story, they will go on asking the aunt for such a story in public. So whenever they will travel, they will ask aunt to tell such a story only. Okay, because the children told that when they compared the story to the aunt's story. Okay, so one of the children says that aunt's story, the ending was not at all good. It was the most stupidest story. But compared to this, when he talks about this story, the child says, this is the most beautiful story and it started badly. He talks about all the goodness in Bertha. That means the story started badly, the child says, but it ended beautifully. Okay, it ended very well, he says. So this kind of thrilling ending was what the children were looking for. Okay, so the storyteller was actually successful in making the children quiet for some time. Okay, so this is the summary of this story, the storyteller. So here they might ask you about the characters also. Which are the characters here? There are only 4 characters. So they are the aunt, Cyril, bachelor and Bertha that you would be asked for. Okay, Cyril is the one who questions a lot. Okay, so that's why about him also you may be asked. But the other 2 girls who are there, they are also the characters there, but their conversation is not too much in the story. Okay, so they don't have much of a part being played in the story, so that will not be asked for the character sketching. They might ask about character sketching of these people also. So whenever you're writing about character sketching, you just need to write about, you read the story, so you need to write about the physical traits first. Okay, so whenever you're writing about a character, you need to write about the physical appearance first. Okay, write about the physical traits or physical appearance first. Okay, so then you will talk about their character in the sense what kind of person they were. Okay, so the mindset. Okay, so the mindset of the person you will be writing. Suppose we are writing about the aunt. Okay, so let us just talk about one of the characters, so others you can write it. Yeah, let us talk about the aunt. Okay, so she was very old, you can say. Okay, old in the sense not too old, it is given as she was aged. Okay, so she has 3 children, not her own. Okay, you can just say old, not too much aged. So she was old and she was not patient at all. Okay, so about her physical traits, not much is given over there. Like was she tall, was she stout? So that is not given there. So you need not have to concentrate much on that. So then we are also told that she was impatient. How do you know she was impatient? How do you decide she was impatient? She never used to answer the questions of the children properly. Okay, she was just getting pissed off by the way children were behaving. Okay, so that doesn't mean that she doesn't have patience at all, but they might be troubling her too much, due to which she may not like questions, she may not like to answer questions, so she might have become impatient. Okay, so that can be there. And you can also write about how she could manage the children, how she could manage the show or manage the children in the train. So about that also you can write a little. So here when you're writing, that depends on how much marks is being awarded for that. So if you're writing for lesser marks, you just have to write very in a plain way, in a superficial way. You need not have to go deep into that. Suppose they are asking you for 10 marks, then you need to write the incidents, like wherever, suppose you're writing about impatience of aunt. So you can write about 2 or 3 places where she has to answer the questions and how she answered it back. So like that you can write whenever you're writing about the aunt. Okay, Cyril, you can say he was a child and he is very inquisitive, curious. You can use that word. Since he is a child, he is curious. Then he was going on asking questions. He asks questions about whatever he says, he is going on asking questions about that. So that you can write about Cyril. Okay. So bachelor, yes, he was a mute spectator in the railway carriage. He was just waiting for a chance to ask aunt. He was just waiting for a chance to counter aunt for her storytelling. Okay, so later on how he was very tactfully he answered the questions. Okay, so about that you can write when you're writing about the bachelor. So bachelor was we know nothing about bachelor other than he was young. Okay, so he was young, he was very tactful, he was very clever, and he was very intelligently answering the questions asked by the children. So that you can ask. You can just say he was very smart enough to answer the questions of the children. Okay, so then we have Bertha. We already know about Bertha, isn't it? She was too good, she was horribly good. You can also use that word. Okay, so she was too good, and the author uses the word horribly good to refer to her goodness. Okay, you can also write about the 3 medals which she has won. So about that also you can write. Okay, then you in the end you can write how she had to pay for because she was too good. Okay, so these are the things you have to write when you're writing about Bertha. So the possible questions you're going to get from this story are like character sketch, or you may have to answer the 1-mark questions and also few 5-mark questions, which we will be discussing in the class later. Okay, so this was what we learned today, the summary of this story, The Storyteller. Okay, so this storyteller is a story about a bachelor who tells a story to the children just to keep them quiet. So without any bad intention, he just tells this story, but that turns out to be something else. So this was all about the storyteller. Let us meet again in another more interesting session. Okay, so till then, keep learning. Any part of the lecture you have not understood, just go back and watch the session again. It will be clear to you. So any doubts, you are welcome to ask during the class. So let us meet again with another more interesting session. Till then, keep learning. Take care. See you. Bye-bye.